A very good evening, everyone. I, Geeta, and my friends Bilva, Satvik, and Rahul welcome you all to Open Mic Student Special Series of Common Sense Talks, Black and White Talks, powered by Fountainhead Global School and Junior College, our place for unlimited fun and learning. We all by now realize that we have to coexist with COVID 19 a little longer. And with people getting agitated and not knowing where to grab the right information, the accurate information, we, the students of Fountainhead Global, bring forward a doctor's take on COVID 19's new variant, especially Omicron. Our guest speaker will be answering the most asked questions turned in by our friends, parents, and teachers. This session will help us learn more about the pandemic that we are in right now, especially about the new variant Omicron. Common Sense Black and White Talks aims to bring experts from various fields to enlighten us. These talks, delivered by experts, can help you transform your views, understand new topics in a better perspective.
Wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is also a love of humanity. Let me take this opportunity to introduce our guest speaker for today, Dr. Manish Gaur. Dr. Manish Gaur is the founder and director of Pranam Hospitals. He is an MBBS from Karnataka University, Dharwad Diploma in Child Healthcare KIMS, Hubli, Karnataka, DNB Pediatrics from National Board of Examinations, New Delhi, Pediatrics Fellowship from AIMS, New Delhi. Prior to founding Pranam, Dr. Manish had a rich experience as a consultant pediatrician. Dr. Manish is a very loved and respected pediatrician. He ensures that a child is treated with the utmost care during his or her visit. Dr. Manish also participates in various conferences, both India and abroad, and ensures that Pranam Hospital is at the cutting edge when it comes to childcare treatment. Now, may I request Dr. Manish Gaur to address the audience? Please go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Fountainhead for giving me this opportunity. And of course, it's a much needed talk. I can see a lot of parents who come to me and otherwise also who are having a lot of questions. So let me first go through what we already know, few basic things about COVID. And then I'll be open to questions. All of you can ask your questions and I'll be more than happy to answer them. We'll just go through the few basics of COVID. Well, let us start off like COVID in children. Let us see the primary things. When do you suspect COVID in children? That's the most common thing. So suspicion in COVID is like any other viral infection. The child will have fever, mild or moderate or even high degree fever. He will have cold and he will have cough. These are the most common symptoms of COVID in children, like any other viral infection. Some children can have little breathing difficulty. Some children can have loose motions or diarrhea, and little later in the disease, some children can have loss of taste and loss of smell also. Very few other symptoms like redness of the eyes or conjunctival congestion and some rashes on the body can be there. These are all the symptoms which are very common for any viral illness in children. So whom do we test? Earlier, when we were in the pandemic and it was a peak, that time we used to say test everybody. Even now we say we tend to test everybody, but we now have the merits. We know exactly whom to test, especially if there is a family history of COVID or somebody in the family suffering from COVID. We definitely do a COVID test, or then we see what are the merits, whether they are really fitting into the COVID criteria or not, and then individually decide whether they really need to go for the COVID test or not. And the tests in children is no different from in adults. The same test, RT-PCR only is done for confirming COVID. That's a gold standard test as of now. The disease per se in children is like any other disease. Every disease has a mild component, a moderate component, and a severe component. Similarly, COVID also, mild COVID, you hardly have anything. Some children will have mild degree fever, little pain in the throat. They can have little running nose, mild cough, and maybe but they will have no fast breathing and their saturations are always above 95%. Moderate breathing, again, they'll have the same symptoms. Apart from that, they can have a saturation ranging between 90 to 95%, and little bit of fast breathing can be there. Whereas then very, very rare, luckily for us, very rarely children have a severe disease. That is, with any disease, they can go into severity, whether it is malaria, typhoid, influenza, anything. Severe disease, these children generally have pneumonia. So the saturations are less than 90%. They can have increased breathing difficulties. They'll be having grunting or labored breathing. Some children can have fits, extreme weakness, diarrhea, all these things. And when it really progresses to multi-system, then they can have multi-system problems and something like respiratory distress shock and other things. These are the things. A little bit I would like to tell about some new variant. I mean, not new variant, sorry, not a variant, but a thing which we are seeing post-COVID. Children who have already got COVID, whether they are symptomatic or asymptomatic. We are seeing some children after 2-3 months coming with fever, high degree fever, usually which is after 1 or 2 months of them getting COVID. So children, they are not responding to routine or antibiotics for 5 days, or then we see they are persisting to have fever. And if you examine them, some children have rash, some children have something called hypotension or the shock. That means the peripheries are cold, hands and legs are cold, and they have some heart abnormalities. Rarely we see those things. These children who are not responding to treatment, we tend to investigate them. We get the COVID antibodies, and most of the time we see that the COVID antibodies are positive. What does this mean? This means the parents say the child never suffered from COVID, but he would have got a subclinical or asymptomatic infection sometime previously in the last 2-3 months. So then their COVID antibodies could be high. There will be something like ESR being high. Sometimes there are a few tests like D-dimer, other things, which give us a clue that this could be MIS. But luckily for us, MIS is not a severe disease. It has treatment. You just have to start the treatment, and children usually respond to treatment. Okay. Now we have discussed about that. Now let us directly come into vaccines, COVID vaccines in children, which most of the parents are asking us nowadays. The first and foremost, I would like to inform all parents that government has not approved any COVID vaccine to be given in children right away. The vaccines have been approved, like Zydus vaccine has been approved, the Bharat Biotech vaccine has been approved. I mean, trials have taken place, but still government is continuing. They have a lot of things to take care. Government, before they give a final approval, that yes, this vaccines can be rolled out and can be given to children. So presently, only 2 vaccines which we are considering. One is the Zydus Cadila vaccine, which is called Zycovid, which has 3 doses, and this is recommended to children only about 12 years of age, 12 to 14 years of age. There are three doses, and they are given on first day after 28 days or 1 month, and then at 56 days. This is a live DNA vaccine. The second one is the Covaxin, which is developed by Bharat Biotech, our own Bharat Biotech. This they have done trials for children about 2 years. So this also has been given, sent to the government. Hopefully things are falling in place. There are a lot of things which the government has to see and give a look, and then only give the permission. So we are waiting for that. Hopefully, we are hoping that it would come as soon as possible. This Covaxin is given only in 2 doses. That is the one today and then one after 28 days or within after 1 month. So these are the 2 vaccines. Now, children, the vaccine presently recommended is they give the same dose as in what we are giving in adults only. There is no different vaccine as such, but we still have to wait for the government and see what are the new regulations. And about the side effects of vaccines with the trials which have gone, what we have come to know is they are absolutely minimum side effect, like with any vaccine what we take. Children, the same thing, like they may have pain at the site of infection, light body pains, they can have fever. The common effects of giving any injection or vaccine, those are the things only which we have seen. We have not seen any major side effect or adverse reaction following the vaccine as of date. Then one more common question which most of the parents come to ask, tell us is, my child is very weak, my child is having some kidney problem, or my child is, or some later children can be having cancer or something. So do they need to take the shot, the corona shot whenever it comes? So I would like to tell that any child who is having frequently falling sick or who is having this immunocompromised state, which we call it, they have to go for the vaccine based on the recommendation of the pediatrician. The pediatrician will examine the child. He will see whether everything is okay, and then he will definitely, these are the children who have to take, because we don't want these children to be affected by COVID. So we have to ensure that these children get the vaccine before anybody else. So that is why we recommend any children with comorbidities, whether it is asthma, whether it is any liver problem or a kidney problem, anything, these children should be taking the vaccine first. And the do's and don'ts following the vaccine, the parents would want to know. It's the same thing. There's nothing much you have to do before taking the vaccine or after taking the vaccine. Basically, you have to look wherever you take. You are going to take them in a clinic or a hospital only. The doctors would be telling you about the reactions which are there, and there's nothing to be panicked about. The child should be well fed, and also be adequately hydrated with a lot of fluids before you go for the vaccination jab. So these are the things about the COVID very briefly, which I have tried to tell you. And now let me come to the burning topic, is the variant Omicron. I would like to tell that.
Not sir.
Yeah. I would like to say that every virus has a tendency to mutate. There is nothing alarming in a child, in a virus mutating. Every virus will keep mutating based on the age or based on the number of months, or then after a few months, every virus tends to mutate. Now, what we have seen in previous pandemics, or what we have seen with the viruses, most of the viruses, as they mutate, they tend to become less virulent, or they become less dangerous. So we are hoping the same with the COVID virus also. We had a very bad first and second strain. As we get the new strains, we are hoping that these strains will be less dangerous than the previous strains, but they can be more infectious. There is a difference. More infectious means these viruses tend to spread faster. So we will see more number of cases, but they will not be dangerous virus. Children or adults or anybody will have mild symptoms. This is good for, in a way, for ending the pandemic. What we see is the more number of people getting affected with mild disease, it leads to a herd immunity. So that is the way the pandemic usually dies down. So we are also seeing Omicron wave, cases are rising. This is the media reporting, cases will rise when you start testing, because this is a new variant. But luckily, we are not seeing too many of admissions as of now. We are not seeing too many of ICU or cases as of now. So we are hoping that the virus is slowly getting less dangerous, and we are hoping that over some time the virus would become less virulent and it should be fine. After that, it will be like any other virus which affects. Thoughts about the COVID? I am open to questions. Anybody having any questions, please, I am here to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable insight. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you on this program with us today. Can we continue with the questions, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. I have a question, and I'm sure that many of the parents and teachers are curious about it. There are studies that say that students have missed out on 23 social skills upon not being able to attend school physically. The younger ones have not yet returned to school from the fear of current situation. Do you think we should continue to go to school, or would you suggest we stay home?
Well, see, we have been, I've seen children being at home for last 2 years, and now we are seeing that the virus is not that alarming in other countries wherever it is available, wherever it is already prevailing. And second thing is, we have this one already of the vaccine being given to adults, and most of the adults are protected. Our main concern was the vulnerable group, adults who are more affected. They should be protected first, so that the virus does not have, it doesn't cause more admissions or deaths or any other thing. So I would suggest this virus, slowly is getting milder, hopefully. And all the adults in the families are mostly vaccinated. So children should start going to school. We should not fear, because somewhere we have to take a call. There's nothing much. Variants will keep coming. Cases may rise up and down. It's like your influenza. Every year in December, you'll see a sudden rise of cold and cough. All children will be going to pediatricians to show them. It may be the same thing now. That variant will come, the cases will rise again, the things will go down and things will be fine. So the take home is, I think parents should start sending the children to school. Whatever precautions the children will take, the parents also will take care of that. The school also will take care of that. And hopefully nothing would happen. It would be good for the children to come back into a routine, and we should not be scared by going on saying that, okay, not this time, next time. There's no end to that. Let us somewhere take a call, start sending children, and then hopefully things should start getting better.
Thank you, sir. We will make sure to take precautions and get back into our routine now, sir. Let's move on to the next question. Doctor, even though we have not been yet vaccinated, our parents and teachers have, with 2 doses. How far does the vaccine prevent the new variants of COVID?
See, vaccine, luckily for us, we have seen that vaccine is the only thing which is available for us to protect against COVID. So we have seen the vaccine, people who are vaccinated are not getting severe illnesses. They are not going into ICUs and other things. So vaccine is definitely protective. And whatever variants come, there may be a little people who are having, who have had vaccines will develop little fever, cold cough, but definitely as of now, we know that they are not going to develop severe disease. So there is no problem. And luckily, we have seen children, even though the first and second wave were very, very virulent, very, very bad for them, but children have not been affected. When children were not affected in the first and second wave, I don't see any reason why they should suddenly start becoming vulnerable and becoming susceptible in the third wave. So we are hoping the same thing continues. Children will still be protected in the third wave also. And with most of the children, people getting vaccinated or whether getting the infection, hopefully it will not be a bad thing from here on.
Sir, thank you for that. It was very informative, and I'm sure our teachers are somewhat at ease to find an answer finally.
Doctor, allow me to continue with the next question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is the media blowing the variant out of proportion, or they actually describing what it really is? What is a reliable source to get accurate information about the new variant?
Yeah, the media is doing their work. They are only reporting what they are seeing. As I told you, the new variant will come. Once the new variant comes, the number of cases will go up. That is not our cause of concern at all. We have to take precautions. We have to ensure that we are wearing mask, sanitizer. And once the cases go up, after some time they come down. Our main concern initially was that we are losing a lot of patients. They were going into ICUs. There were a lot of deaths and all that. So right now, what we are seeing is there are not many admissions into hospitals or ICUs. So the most reliable source, of course, like WHO is saying, if you read the WHO statements which they are giving, they say that it is on a rise. They are always saying cases are increasing. Why they are saying? Because even if suppose you take 100 people, if cases rise, even if 2-3 people or 10 people go into the hospital, it's a big burden on the hospital. They may not have severe disease, they may not die, they may not have any problem. But even then, getting admitted to the hospital gives a lot of strain on the medical system, whether it's the government hospitals or the private hospitals. So that is what they are saying. The cases are rising. There's no mention about whether we are having more mortality or not. But even cases rising, it is our duty to protect ourselves and prevent these cases by wearing masks, taking all the proper hygienic precautions. So I think the WHO bulletin is good enough for us to know about what is happening. But we have to be very clear in what we are understanding of those bulletins. Cases are rising, but we are not having problems. That is very most important that we have to see.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable information. Next question. What age group is affected the most by Omicron?
Even now, Omicron is only, we are seeing whatever reports we have got from all the studies, it is only the adults and vulnerable age group, that is people above 60. Even now, we are not seeing too many children. Now, what is happening is children, if they show cold, cough, and fever, we are testing children. Adults are already vaccinated, so many of them may not be testing. So we are seeing people are saying that, oh, children are getting affected, but children are still having only mild disease. So age group is still the same vulnerable age group, which is adults and above 60.
Doctor, I'm actually curious now. You keep saying that Omicron is much milder, but it is affecting more people. So do you think the government will take another step and like put us in a lockdown once again because of Omicron?
No, I think government is watching all this thing carefully. If you see a few of the countries initially when Omicron was discovered, and then for 2 weeks we went into a knee-jerk reaction. We stopped flights, and so many things happened. Now people are understanding the severity. If you see Australia and many other countries have slowly started opening up their flights, so people know that okay, this is what is happening. It's not a more dangerous thing. So as of now, we are not seeing any very severe diseases with Omicron. So I don't think with this sort of a thing, the government would go into a major lockdown or any such thing. But definitely, government would be watching which all pockets are having more cases or from where more cases are coming, and appropriate sectional precautions would be taken. as an impact.
Thank you, sir. It was really helpful for us to understand where we exactly stand with the new variant. And also, there has been a news that a doctor that was infected with Omicron said that he got better with monoclonal antibody treatment. So, is it actually working?
Monoclonal antibody treatment definitely works. That is one of the things which is working against this one, but against COVID. But the thing is, it has to be given early in the disease. So it has to be given within the first 4 or 5 days of knowing that you have got corona. And second thing is the cost factor. It cannot be given to everybody because it's very costly. Each one dose costs around 60,000 or something. But those who have taken monoclonal antibodies have definitely responded. So it is one way. It is a good. I mean, it's definitely a protective thing against. It works.
Thank you, sir.
Doctor, as a school management, I would want to ask you one question. Like, I understand for almost 18 months, all our parents were under fear and for their children's health, and they didn't let them out. So what precautions do you think as an organization that we have to take an extra, like, we have all these masks and sanitizers around. Do you recommend any further precautions, or is it just the fear factor that we have to reduce?
And fear factor has to be reduced. See, somewhere we have to accept the situation also. We have to accept what is going on around us, and then we have to weigh the pros and cons and then act accordingly. So if we are seeing that it is not really affecting lives too much, we have to go ahead and get into our routine as soon as possible. And as a school management, I mean, what else can you do apart from asking the children to take all the precautions? Maybe you can sanitize the school once a day or whenever, just with before they come into the school. And that is the only thing. It's very difficult for children to be with mask and all. We know that, but still, I think since children are not being affected that much, I still feel with whatever minimum precautions they are there, they are good to go. They should be fine.
Thank you so much. So, do you recommend the younger ones can return back to school because they're the one who are missing out on the school time, actually, like the physical school time? So, but the parents are apprehensive. They are waiting for the government to say yes for the vaccine, so that they said only after vaccination is when I will be able to send my children to school. So I'm really, I appreciate their concern for their children, but what is your take on this?
Yeah. See, ultimately, first and foremost is the government giving permission for the schools to reopen, and what age group they are telling. They say the government says you can open the school for everybody. That's fine. So government has given a clearance. That's the first step. Second thing is obviously it's the parents' this one role what they want to take out. We can assure the parents that these are not mild. Younger the children, they are definitely not being affected. We have seen that especially below 6 years, we hardly see any cases of them. No complications. So the parents have to take a call because we have seen that these children are not being affected. So I don't see any reason for them to. Till when will we keep? After Omicron, we'll definitely have one more variant. So till when will we go on doing that? We have to sway the variant and then probably go ahead. It is good. Maybe these children are getting mild disease. They all get into herd immunity, and soon the pandemic will come to an end. So as long as it is not a life-threatening or a very serious this one, I think parents should take a call and slowly start sending the children to school if everything is fine.
I'm so happy to hear this because, this is something which was really bothering all our younger, student parents, because the older kids still, some of them could get to school and college, but the younger ones are really missing out that, one-on-one session with their friends or their teachers and all. So every time they say that only why do we have to stay back home? So this is a bigger question for all the teachers and also the parents, that we are not able to answer all this.
Yeah, that's what I said. See, from my side, I think if everything is fine and we are not seeing too much of bad disease, from my side, though, I would feel that somewhere the parents have to take a call and start sending the children. But ultimately, it is up to them. But that is what it is. Somewhere we have to take a call and start. When will we start? There has to be a time. We can't wait for the pandemic to end, or we can't wait for forever for these things.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Right.
Sir, I personally love animals. We actually have two dogs. So there were many queries about this topic when we collected questions from our friends. Actually, is it possible for my dog to be carrying virus on its fur and body? And what are some precautions that can be taken so that my dog as well as my family is safe from COVID and other viruses?
It's a dog or whether it's a sibling or whether it's a table, chair, everything can carry a virus. So there's no difference. You have to take your precautions. Dog has got nothing to do with the spreading the virus or any such thing. Luckily, we have not yet seen too many transmissions like that. Very rarely, though, we are seeing here and there that animals are affected. But whether it's a dog or it's a sibling, you have to take the same precautions. You have to wear your mask or you have to sanitize your hand, whatever you can, you have to do that. That is the only thing. Don't treat it as something which is going to give you the virus. It's not nothing like that. It's a dog or anything, you can treat them normally.
Thank you, sir. And the next question is, even
Yes.
after WHO said that Omicron is not very much dangerous, the UK received their first death recently. So what is your take on it?
See, something not being dangerous and death are something not related. See, you can have deaths with any disease. I will tell that malaria is not dangerous. I would tell that influenza is not dangerous, but still we have around 20,000 deaths of influenza per year. So that has got nothing to do with this one. There could be 101 reasons which could have led to the death of that person. We just know that he was infected with Omicron, but we don't know the other things about it. So this is a very, very minor thing. If you are getting one death, it is, I mean, it's a good news actually, if you see, because we don't know. That could be some 101 things. Had we seen that there are thousands of deaths, then we would have been worried like what we saw in the second wave. So this has got, I don't think, anything to do with the virus as such. So that obviously he was infected with the virus, but there might be many more things leading to that.
That was truly eye-opening, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, sir. Moving on, sir. If a person just recovered from COVID-19, how effective are these antibodies with the new variant?
As of now, we are seeing even the patient is whether he is affected with COVID or he has received the vaccination, they are effective. Even if they are getting infected by the virus, they are not having any complications. So definitely, whether you are infected with COVID or you have taken the vaccination, it's the same thing. Your antibodies are working as of now. So we hope that it continues that way and nothing major happens in future.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That was truly informative. And the next question is the Omicron having similar properties compared to COVID, or it is another type of pathogen altogether?
No, it's just a mutant. So just what happens in a mutant, you have a virus. Suppose you have 10 horns picking out of the virus. The new mutant will have say 9, or it can have 12 horns poking out of it. So it's just the same thing with a little difference. So what happens is you have developed a virus to a spike protein. It will work, but there will be some proteins which are extra which can cause the disease. But still, the proteins of the previous virus will definitely the antibodies or whatever vaccination you have taken will definitely protect with the against the other proteins of the virus. So you will definitely be protected. These mutations will keep coming. Nothing to worry about it. But your antibodies and your vaccination will definitely protect against it.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was really informative.
So, with all these insights, it eased our hearts a lot. And I'm sure that the audience received answers to the questions that were pressing them for a really long time. The fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. With everything that's happening right now, fear prevails in every one of us because we did not have a reliable source to get the information. Thank you for your expertise, Doctor. We are more at ease now, and I'm sure my friends, parents, and teachers are too. If anyone has any further questions, you can reach out to Dr. Manish at Pranam Hospitals.
Thank you very much. That was really nice. I hope that parents would have benefited a bit, at least from my talk. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is quite informative, and I'm sure most of the parents are at a lot of ease currently. And the students make sure that you follow all the possible things that that you have to take care and don't be like, at ease just because, you're allowed to come outside. Don't just take it for granted. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor. I was really, an eye-opener actually in many areas for us too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.